What's up, motherfuckers? Welcome to another episode of Fight Briefing. Fight Briefing episode 17. We're here for UFC 247. Jon Jones versus Dominick Reyes. Who's ready for some
wonderful
fights tonight? I hope everybody else in the chat is wonderful. I see Aiden Santos, Flat Earth Deacon, Pulse Resurrected Tiger. I can't purr. Sorry, I tried to purr for Tiger. Jay Gonzalez, Jose Locos, what's up, JBH? Flat Earth Deacon, Pulse Resurrected, D Rest, a real gamer. All right, guys. The UFC is headed to Houston, Texas this weekend for 2020's second big pay-per-view event. And we've got huge title fights, guys. We've got huge title fights coming up. We've got Jon Jones versus Dominick Reyes. Valentina Shevchenko faces Katlyn Chookagian for her UFC flyweight title in the co-main event. The rest of the card, I know a lot of people are saying is not very strong, but I disagree. I'm actually very interested in the rest of the card. Maybe it's because I've been reading more about it, but they can be some fairly interesting fights. So I'm excited to see what is ahead this Saturday night. But there are plenty of fights that should pique the interest of a lot of UFC fans here. A couple of eye-opening heavyweight bouts on the main card. So we're going to talk about the main card, who's going to win, who's going to lose, why they're going to win, why they're going to lose, what your guys' picks are, what my picks are. Let's get to it. Who's in the chat? All right, sitting on the toilet, but Go Jon Jones says, Wasika York, Donkerson, hello. Jay Gonzalez says, when's the fight? This Saturday, Fred Fowler. You got to look into it. Flat Earth Deacon with the horse donk waving. Justin Jr., I would like to know where your head in RX was at picking Reyes. We'll find out. Shevchenko the Hotbot says, D Rest, Drunk Savage says, say my name. I said your name. Tiger says, come on, people, hit the like button. That's right, Tiger. Aiden says, Jon Jones going to take the W. All right, well, let's talk about it. So let's start by who's on the main card, right? Let's start with the first fight. Derrick Lewis versus Ilir Latifi is kicking off the main card this Saturday night, followed by Mirsad Bektic versus Dan Ige. Both fights I like very much. Juan Adams versus Justin Tafa. I know a lot of people weren't really on board with this fight because these are two, not newcomers, but relatively newcomers. Their debut was not too long ago, especially for Tafa. And we haven't really seen much of either of them to really make a decisive pick. Regardless, I think it's going to be a pretty decent fight. Our co-main event, Valentina Shevchenko versus Katlyn Chookagian. Listen, it is what it is. I'll tell you about it, but I think I know where the UFC was, what the UFC was thinking when they made this fight. But whatever, I mean, what are you going to do? All right, Jon Jones versus Dominick Reyes is the main event of the evening.
Wonderful.
All right, so let's just get right to it. Let me move this. I want to start with the first fight of the main card. And the reason I want to get into it so fast is because I know there's only five fights on the main card, but I feel that these first two fights are something that you guys should genuinely be interested in, and it's shocking to me that a lot of people don't really give a fuck. To me, that's pretty interesting because I don't know. I was doing the research on the fights, and I didn't mind what I saw, to be quite honest. So, Derrick Lewis versus Ilir Latifi is the first fight of the main card. What I think is interesting about this fight is Latifi's making his move to heavyweight for the very first time in his UFC career, which nobody's talking about. Everybody's like, yeah, if Derrick Lewis goes to the ground, Derrick Lewis is going to get beat up, blah, 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 nobody cares. No, we're seeing a fighter go up to a completely different weight class, which is always interesting, especially when it's the first time they've ever done it and they're not used to it. We're going to see a different Latifi in this fight, and everybody's so stuck on the Latifi they're used to, right? But you're not considering the Latifi that we may get to see on Saturday night because he moved up a weight class and we've never seen him there before. He's also been matched with one of the biggest men in that entire division in Derrick Lewis. And Derrick Lewis has to cut weight to get to 265. He stands 5 inches taller than Ilir Latifi. So to me, this is an extremely fascinating fight. And for people to be on this train of it's not going to be interesting because, you know, it's either going to be on the feet, Derrick Lewis is going to knock him out, or on the ground, Latifi's going to choke him. I don't know if I really feel that way about this fight. I think this is very exciting. With that said, Lewis does have some major weaknesses. Now, I know he's a heavy striker, and Derrick Lewis, he's the type of fighter who is known to start off the first couple rounds really slow, perhaps even losing, and then come in last minute in that last round or that last 2 rounds and just fucking demolish their opponent, right? And that's what you would expect to see here. But there are a lot of major weaknesses here against someone like Latifi that we should really pay attention to, regardless of the size difference, regardless of the height advantage or the reach advantage or whatever. I would venture to say that the biggest thing that Lewis is going to have to watch out for in this fight is being taken to the ground. We all know that. Latifi is a fucking monster when it comes to his takedowns, and Derrick Lewis's takedown defense is pretty debatable, if you ask me. He sometimes does great with his takedown defense, and other times it's miserable, right? So I think against someone like Latifi, who is very, very profound in that area, Lewis is not going to stand a chance. So he has to be extremely careful with that. I believe that Lewis's tendency to simply look to lift his opponents off of him by using that strength that he has may not really work against someone like Latifi because of Latifi's wrestling technique. He's not really going to allow that to happen. He might get dumped 1 or 2 times, but Derrick Lewis doesn't want to dump Ilir Latifi. On that note, it is imperative for everyone to know that Latifi's wins, at least the ones that come from KO, TKO, all come from the feet. And everyone's like, oh, Latifi doesn't want to stay on the feet. You know, he wants to go to the ground if he wants to get the win against Lewis. That's not true. That's not true at all here. Every KO, TKO Latifi has had has been on the feet. There has been no like, oh, take him down and the ground and pound kind of thing. It's never really been like that. It's always been Latifi knocking him out straight up. So from a standing position, I think Latifi still has some semblance of a chance here. I think it'd be incredibly difficult to imagine Latifi grabbing the neck of Lewis, you know, for one of those guillotine chokes he's known for, simply because of Lewis's tremendous BBC. Ayo!
Wonderful.
All right. All seriousness, guys. I do feel that Lewis could be a lot of trouble for Latifi. But I think on the ground, Latifi is obviously going to be a serious problem. I don't know. It's not going to be as easy as 1, 2, 3 for Latifi on the ground, but I see Latifi trying to stay on the feet a lot because he knows that Lewis is a big dude, and for him to try and take him to the ground and to get that wrestling technique in, it's only going to last for so long. Lewis is just maybe too big for him. So I truly feel that Latifi is going to get hit by one of Lewis's strikes. I think that if that happens, he's going to be in deep trouble. But I would not sleep on Latifi in this fight. So bottom line, Lewis is unpredictable enough of a fighter that Latifi can't be counted out here. And in the very less, I suspect that Latifi, you know, he's going to win the first round with his takedowns. But I can see Lewis catching him cleanly with at least one strike. And when he does, I really don't think that Latifi can stand up to that enormous power. So this was a tough one for me. I chose Lewis by KO TKO, but I really want to pick Latifi. I really want to pick Latifi in this fight. Oh, shit. Do I change it right now? Should I change it right now? Fuck! I'm going to go Lewis for now. I'm going to choose Lewis to win the fight.
Man, you better back up or you're going to go to sleep. Man, you need to back up or you can go to sleep too.
PBR!
Hey.
What's up?
How are all the motherfucking holes out there?
How are you?
Waving.
Where have you been, PBR? What the heck is going on, man? I haven't seen you in a long time. Welcome. Welcome to Fight Briefing Thursday. All right, guys, I went with Derrick Lewis by KO/TKO, but I gotta say there was a part of me that wanted to pick Latifi. So if he wins, I'm gonna be extremely disappointed in myself for not following through with that. But whatever. All right, guys, the next fight on the main card: Dan Ige versus Mirsad Bektic. Now, I like this fight. It sucks because with all the research I've been doing, everybody's been saying that this whole card is just shit, you know, and that the only two fights that they really cared about were the co-main and main event and blah, 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 and that the prelims were better than the main card. And there were some fights on the prelims that were interesting to me, but I gotta be honest, I'm not disappointed in the main card. This featherweight clash actually has me intrigued simply because despite recent struggles, I still believe that Bektic can climb the ladder into a title contention for 145 pounds. So I think he's a phenomenal athlete. I don't know. I think his wrestling skills really say enough for him. So I think he has a lot of tools to become a UFC champion, and it's very interesting to me that nobody gives a fuck. Ige is relatively round. Why can't I fucking talk tonight? What is going on? He's a relatively well-rounded fighter. He's also a pretty solid striker, which we all know. We've seen that. I think it's going to give him a huge advantage to someone like Bektic. One thing I also know about Ige is he has a chin of steel, this guy. Not Kelvin Gastelum status, but he definitely has a chin of steel. Although he's not super quick inside the octagon, he's not super quick on the feet, he can take a lot of shots and then stay standing, and he can also throw back those shots with heavier power to his opponent. So I think that's something that's really going to come in handy with him. But Bektic, now, the problem he's had, that Bektic has been with his reckless nature. We've seen him go into fights in a really sloppy manner and just scathe by. He got too sloppy with Darren Elkins. He also traded blows with Josh Emmett, who was literally one of the heaviest hitters in the division at the time. And when Bektic should have probably gone for the takedown, and he didn't. So it's scary to think that Bektic is going to go into this fight with a heavy hitter like Ige and not be reckless, right? Outside of that, Bektic did defeat Ricardo Lamas in a pretty definitive fashion. And he also had a couple of other pretty decent victories prior to that. I do believe that Ige could be considered a little bit of a step down in competition for him. So I think for this fight, as long as Bektic can really stay patient, if he doesn't go in there recklessly, if he doesn't go in there headstrong, there could be a pretty positive position for him here. I do worry about the power behind Ige because Ige is a super heavy hitter. But I'm not certain it can be any real competition for Bektic. If Bektic does get on top, his furious nature, I think, will almost certainly be enough to finish Ige. So I'm going to go with Bektic by KO/TKO. Let me know who you guys have in the chat. Fighter Thing says, you need an enema, Moss. Moss says, I will be using the bidet during this fight. All right. Art Vandalay says, Trump should build a wall around Clodagh so McGregor can neglect his illegitimate kid. Well, that's a horrible thing to say.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Slazer says, everybody was once a sperm. Now look at you all. I know, it's such a disappointment, right? Fuck this username says, Moss, post a pic of that super clean anus. Jesse doesn't know anything about MMA. I guess I don't, Seth. I guess I don't. And H says, Folk Trump. Aiden Santos says, I'm going with Bektic by TKO. I'm here. What happened, boss? We are on the third fight of the main card. Where's the 50 likes pump, says Tiger. Are we at 50 likes already? Oh. Guys, we have...
I've got 50 likes, you've got 50 likes, we've got 50 likes, MMA-Holes 50 likes. I've got 50 likes, you've got 50 likes, we've got 50 likes, MMA-Holes 50 likes. I've got 50 likes, You got 50 likes. You got 50 likes. MMA-Holes 50 likes. The dislikes can choke on a dick.
Penis. All right, guys. Whoo! We made it to 50 likes. Look at 71 already. We might play the song again. What the fuck? All right, guys. The next fight on the main card, the third fight, Justin Tafa versus Juan Adams. This heavyweight clash will hopefully go quickly because we have two extremely heavy hitters here. If it doesn't, we would probably be in...
man, you better back up or you're going to go to sleep. Man, you need to back up or you can go to sleep too.
What's up, Brad?
Sup nigga. Ilir Latvia via December, watch him gas out Lewis and take the W.
Oh, don't say that. No, you can't. Oh, fuck. Why would you say that? Oh, shit. Too much, guys. Too much. Why would you say that, Vlad? I was tossed on that fight. By the way, you can't say the N-word, Vlad, because apparently someone got a little triggered because of... I don't even know why. We don't even say the N-word around here, but he got triggered. So you're not allowed to say it in a donation anymore, Vlad, because that triggers him too. So you have to calm down on the word. All right? But no, I wanted to pick Latifi. It's just fuck, it's so hard to pick that. It's so hard to pick that fight because I do feel that Derrick Lewis can easily be taken. We saw DC do it. We saw DC take Derrick Lewis to the ground. So it's possible to happen. It's just I might change my pick. I got to be honest with you guys. I might change my pick before the fight on that one. I chose Derrick Lewis, but I might change my pick. Fuck. All right, I don't want to think about it. All right, let's talk about this fight. Justin Tafa versus Juan Adams. Now, like I said, I think it's going to end early because we have two heavy hitters here, but it might not. It might go the distance, or we might see some of the fighters gas out here, which would not be impossible since we have two extremely heavy fighters. But regardless, let's talk about the fact that both of them are relatively new. Tafa came into the UFC. He had 3 KO victories on his under his belt. So a lot of people had high hopes for him when he came into the UFC. He did his debut, and what happens? He gets knocked out, right? And it's interesting. It's actually kind of ironic. He gets knocked out, but everybody loved him when he came in because he was a knockout artist. Now, if I had to be perfectly fair about picking this fight, I would say it's extremely difficult to tell what exactly Tafa's strengths are and what his weaknesses are, simply because we truly haven't seen enough of him yet. And I don't think it would be fair for me to really make that decision. So this fight, I can understand if you're not really into. I can understand if you don't know who to pick, because I don't even know really. Like, if you really think about it, we really haven't seen enough of either of them to really make that decision. But based on what we do know about Tafa, he does have the knockout power. You know, he is a heavy striker, and with a little luck and a little strategy, he may just take his opponent out in a spectacular fashion, but that's not guaranteed because Adams...
man, you better back up or you're going to go to sleep. Man, you need to back up or you can go to sleep too.
Your niggas think I'm fitting to stop using nigger? Your niggas tripping nigger.
Right.
This nigger can message me directly if he has a problem. Oh yeah, nigger.
Okay, so I don't remember the guy's name. Maybe you can ask Moss. Moss knows the guy's name. But, yeah, I'm not going to get into it. Listen, there's some SJWs in the chat. That's all I have to say. Yeah, some people just, they can't appreciate other people's form of language, I guess. I feel like we're going to get, when you make that donation, Vlad, I feel like we're going to get these messages, like, without you knowing, of like, oh, I unsubbed. I can't watch you anymore because you say that word, because your viewers say that word. Like, I feel like we're going to get those things. All right. Adams, guys. Let's get back to it. Adams is also another heavy hitter. He's relatively new to the UFC as well. He's had a little bit more UFC experience than Tafa. He debuted. He looked like an excellent prospect to watch after he defeated CRIS de La Rocha, but he also took a loss. He took a loss to, let me just look it over here. Hold on. I think it's Arhan Bular. Yeah, that guy. interfered with his hopes to make it to the elite level. And then he was stopped by Greg Hardy, which of course, there's a little bit of like the inhaler gate going on around Greg Hardy, but that wasn't for the Juan Adams fight. That was a completely different fight. So regardless, Adams hasn't really looked so good coming in to the UFC. He is still, like I said, he does have that striking power. I can't really say that he's the fastest guy in the octagon, but he is a good wrestler, which I think is going to come in extreme handy when it comes to someone like Justin Tafa. He's a great athlete. I wouldn't take his last 2 losses much into account here because there's a lot of UFC fighters who came into the game.
Man, you better back up or you're going to go to sleep. Man, you need to back up or you can go to sleep too.
Strong Savage!
Idea for Fukoff Friday. Winner gets to make the losers fight picks.
No!
It would be funny if they ended up making the right picks and winning them the belt. That loser has to pour ice cubes down their pants and sit there until the stream is over.
I'd rather do the ice cube things. I don't know if I'd want Moss to pick my my fights, to be honest. I think he might make me lose. He would purposely make me lose. So no, I don't want Moss to pick my I don't want Moss to pick my card. I'd rather take the ice cubes. Bottom line for this fight, guys, let me just get right to it. This is a tough fight, like I said, to pick because both of these guys, they both have shown that they can be hurt with heavy striking. I don't think Adams may be a safer pick here simply because he does have a few extra fights in the UFC. I do think I do think he will be the safer pick because he does have a few extra fights in the UFC. And we really haven't seen enough of Tafa yet. He's got a bit more MMA experience as well, Adams. So he knows what to expect. He knows how to come in and not let that pressure really get to him. I also believe his wrestling is going to be a huge advantage here, whereas we haven't really seen much of that from Tafa. Now, maybe Tafa isn't a phenomenal wrestler that we're just not ready for, but at this moment, I can honestly say that I can only go based off what I've seen. And from Juan Adams, I'm going to say ground and pound. So let me know what you guys have in chat. I want Adams by KO TKO. All right. Post Resurrected says, President Vigo, meet me on Bisonet. What? All right. JBH Juan Adams, this is his first fight at Jackson's. He changed his style a lot, and he told me he no longer has depression. I'm rooting for my Juan. He is my friend. He told me his weight is good. Goat milk. All right, so there you have it, guys. Choose Juan Adams for the win, according to Justin's interview. Juan Adams is his friend. D-Russ says Tafa Adams. Adams KO round 1 says Real Gamer. Drugstopper says Tafa by KO. Post Resurrect says I got ghetto dreams. Aiden Santos says I'm also going with Juan Adams and I'm going for Izzy for UFC 248. Me too, buddy. Me too, but I'll get to that. When 248 comes around, we'll get to that. Now, the next fight on the card is Valentina Shevchenko versus Katlyn Chookagian. And let me just start by saying, this fight was put together as a sparring match for Valentina Shevchenko just so that she could keep her skills crisp. This fight should not be happening because we all know who's going to win. This is such a layup, it's not even funny. It's baffling to me that this fight was put together. And no disrespect to Katlyn Chookagian. I think she's a great girl. You know, I like her a lot. And I think she's a great fighter. But I think she's no match for Shevchenko. Not one. So it's listen, I'll go into it here. Let me just go into it. I'm not even all right. So when Valentina Shevchenko won the UFC flyweight title by beating Joanna Jędrzejczyk, right, back in December of 2017, it seemed clear that she would probably go on to a dominant title reign. I mean, she was pretty fucking good. There was no doubt about it that she was going to dominate. No matter who came to her, she was just going to destroy him, right? And that's definitely been the case. We all got to see that. She has since defeated Jessica Ai, Liz Carmouche, and in all honesty, the only question I have here is whether she picks Chookagian apart over 5 rounds or takes her out violently in 1 round, right? That's ultimately the question. And my answer is she's going to pick her apart in 5 rounds. And I'll tell you why. Let's start with Shevchenko. I think it's safe to say at this point that in Shevchenko's career that she really doesn't have weaknesses in her game to really worry about. And if she does have, like, if we were really going to nitpick, I would say that the only thing you could really pull for a weakness out of Shevchenko is the fact that she can sometimes be lured into a fight that can be confusing for the judges if she's against an opponent who kind of dances around, depending on who her opponent is. But I mean, that's ultimately it. If we were really going to go down to it, Valentina Shevchenko really has no weaknesses that we have to worry about as fans who pick her to win. Now, against an opponent like Chookagian, though, she really shouldn't be concerned at all. As far as her fighting style is concerned, she's certainly one of, if not the best, female fighter in her division. As far as her fighting style is concerned, she's great on the feet. She's a fucking heavy striker. Her grappling game is nothing to be messed with. Her cardio, she can go the distance and still like not be out of breath at all at the end of the fight for her post-fight interview. Now, I have to say, it's easy to assume that the fight may get finished pretty quickly because we all know how Shevchenko's striking style is. But if I had to be perfectly honest here, I'm not so sure that's what's going to happen. Chookagian knows what she's up against. She's not stupid, right? If there's one thing I know about Chookagian, and I don't know much, but if there's one thing I know about Chookagian, it's that she's not just going to delve straight into the range of Shevchenko early on in the fight. That would be the dumbest thing for her to ever do, and she knows that. If anything, we're going to see a massive distance. We're going to see a lot of hopping around, and quite possibly Chookagian is going to go the distance in this fight just by dancing. She's going to dance to the distance. So, I don't know. Listen, Chookagian's a good fighter. I hate to count out any fighter, but there's literally nothing to really suggest that Chookagian could be the one to upset Shevchenko right here. Shevchenko's still, very far in her prime, and I just don't think Chookagian's the one. She's only 4-1, Katlyn, and she's never truly finished an opponent in the UFC. She's a master of boring fights, if I had to be perfectly honest here. Chookagian's a striker. I'll give her that, but she's not up to par with the likes of Shevchenko in the least. Now, she does stand 4 inches taller than Shevchenko, but that size really means nothing. She does have a 2.5-inch reach advantage, which is great. But that size really means nothing. It's just hard to see her out like kickboxing, because kickboxing is what she's, decent at. But it's hard to see her out doing that with an opponent who comfortably picks apart strikers as good as Holly Holm, or I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why this fight was put together. So bottom line for this fight, I think we all know I'm leaning towards Shevchenko here. I think a lot of you are probably leaning towards Shevchenko here. I think Shevchenko is simply incomparable to any of the opponents that she's really given. And to be quite fair, Chookagian is just literally going to be a sparring partner. Like I said before, she's going to be a sparring partner sent there to keep Shevchenko's skills intact. Shevchenko is just going to pick her apart for 5 rounds. Chookagian's going to dance. She's going to want to keep the distance. And it's going to be a slower paced fight. And it's going to be boring. But listen, what do you expect? Let me know who you guys have in the chat. Jose Loco says Valentina would take Jesse from Mas or ha 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 ha.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Well said, JBH says Donk Donkerson. Bullet says Ann H. Father Ding says, if you just got here, smash that like button. Valentina's holding that belt for a very long time, says Drunk Savage. Jeremiah says versus. Pale Monkey says Valentina by mercy finish in 2. Justin Jr., why did they make this fight? No one in 125 left to offer. Such a huge gap from the rest of the contenders, and then champion Shevchenko. Valentina by murder KO. Fred Fowler says ANZALONE strong. Valentina will beat her up, and I will call PETA. That's a horrible thing to say. All right, guys, and I just saw Fred Fowler says ANZALONE strong, and I'm glad you brought that up because I would have almost forgot. I got too far into the fights. Before I get into the main card, guys, I want to give a quick shout out to our patrons. Thank you all for supporting us. Honestly, we wouldn't be able to continue doing this without you guys, so we truly appreciate your guys' support. But there is a patron that we just got today, and it tugged on the heartstrings a little bit. We just saw that ANZALONE became a patron for a $15 patron. Now, we don't have a $15 package, so we put her in the description under the 10, but she is a $15 patron. And she decided she wanted to continue supporting the show the same way Mikey did. And to be quite honest, it was extremely, it tugged on my heartstrings quite a bit. So just a huge thank you to ANZALONE for continuing to support the show the same way Mikey did. And I don't really know what to say here. It's just like that huge slap in the face, that reality check kind of thing. So we're really appreciative. She was really thankful for us continuing a friendship with her even after Mikey passed and stuff. So we've been able to go back and forth with her and make sure she's okay and check up on her and stuff. So it's really nice to see that, you know, she's carrying on what Mikey was doing, which is awesome to us. So a huge thank you to ANZALONE, and to Mikey, of course, because we know he's watching over us. He's right over there, if you can see. He's here with us for every show. And if you want to join Patreon, there is a link in the description below. And also our Pick'em League, Goat Milk. You have 2 days left to put in your picks for UFC 247. So right before we get to this main card, make sure you guys put your picks in. Link in the description to the MMA-Holes.com. You guys can head over there, hit the Pick'em tab up at the very top, and then you can join there. And we'll all make our picks, and whoever's on the top of the list wins this Lux Bidet right behind us. We're doing a Lux Bidet giveaway. So make sure you get in there, get your picks in for this weekend. You do not want to miss it. This is a pay-per-view. It's very important. All right, guys. Let's see who's in the chat, and then we're going to jump right in to the main event of the evening. All right, thank you, ANZALONE. You're the best. Thank you so much. This is NH. Dottie says, Wanda French. Southpaws are dangerous. JBH looking good as usual. Thank you, Mikey. Dottie says, Ann, be like Mike, not flat. Check again. Will be bulleted. Pick to the head like a bullet to the head. Rest in peace, ANZALONE. Oh! COVINGTON.
Shout out Dottie, that's badass. Much love to all the MMA-Holes fam.
Yeah. She's awesome, man. She's really awesome. Yeah, I mean, the moment we got the email from her on how she could, you know, sign up for that, it was just like, you know, we didn't want it. It was really nice. It was really nice. So, yeah, Dottie's awesome. She's been such a sweetheart. You could tell where Mikey got it from. It's definitely from his mom. She's the biggest sweetheart you'll ever meet. So, yeah, she's great. All right, guys, let's get into the main event of the evening. Jones versus Reyes. The main event. Jon Jones, Dominick Reyes, the Bones versus the Devastator. Who will win? 25-1-0.
Go to sleep. Man, you need to back up, and you can go to sleep too.
You messed up my flow, Camp.
I ran into the girl that got away. I hadn't seen her in a year, but I missed her since the day we quit speaking. I said hi, we talked just like old times. I shook her hand and said bye. As I was leaving, I turned around and hugged her. I cried so much her.
You know, Camp, I gotta say, that was a beautiful story. And I was actually getting into it. The one that got away, right? And you see her, and you say hi, and you guys small talk, and you shake her hand. But then you said you cried. You turned around and hugged her, and that was beautiful. But then you cried.
My foot was a balloon.
It's a bit of cringe, no? I don't know if you should have cried. Listen, I'm not going to make you feel bad about it. Is what it is. Everybody has their own feelings. It was great that you turned around and hugged her, but I don't know if you should have cried. I gotta say, as a female, I'm not like most females, so don't take this from me, but I'm just saying, if I were the female and he turned around and hugged me, I'd be like, oh yeah, like I was the one that got away, right? But if he started crying, I might run. I gotta be perfectly honest with you. But listen, if you guys are still talking, more power to you. I hope you continue that relationship. All right, listen, I'm not gonna get into the. I had a whole bit, but it was ruined, so forget it. Jones versus Reyes, 25-1-0 with a 1-0 contest, 12-0-0, an undefeated fighter. All right, both of them 6'4", both of them weighing in at 205 pounds, an 84.5-inch reach for Jon Jones with a 77-inch reach for Dominick Reyes, giving Jones that 7.5 reach advantage. Holy shit. 45-inch leg reach, which doesn't really matter against a 43.5-inch leg reach. Also doesn't matter. But anyways, that's what you guys have for Jones versus Reyes. So let me get right into it. 2019 was probably one of the most interesting years for Jon Jones. 2018 was arguable, but I would say 2019 more so. After the controversy that surrounded, his recapture of the UFC light heavyweight title, and then in late 2018, despite yet another positive drug test, Jones settled back into kind of a classical champion's role, I guess you could say. He kind of used, and Moss is right, the Kobe Bryant thing had a lot to do with his using his family for positive press, I guess you could say. So he's kind of found his way to settle back into that classical championship role. Taking part on a top contenders, or on a pair of top contenders who earned shots the hard way. I mean, it's pretty interesting to see. So to me, listen, I would be lying if I said Jon Jones wasn't growing on me. I know I constantly rip Jon Jones. I'm constantly like, I disrespect how he did this, and I hate how he did that, and blah, 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 blah. But I'd be lying to you guys. I'd be lying straight to your face if I said he's not growing on me. He is. And maybe it's the ploys that he's using. Maybe it's because he's bringing his family around and he's pulling this good guy thing, and it's kind of winning me over a little bit. I'm not fully on board with Jon Jones, but he's definitely won me over. I can respect him a little bit more because he's come clear with what he's done. He's not hiding it. There's no part of him that wants to be secretive about it or lie about it. He's just like, yeah, I fucking did this. And then he just moves on, and I respect that. If he lied about it, I guess I would disrespect him a little bit more, but I can't. I'd be lying to you guys. So it is what it is. But do I think Jon Jones is going to win the fight? The answer is no. Now let me just start by saying the fights Jones had with Anthony Smith and Thiago Santos were not the best versions of Jones. And I know, I can just hear it right now. I hear Moss's voice going, "What? Are you fucking kidding me?" No, I genuinely think that was not the best version of Jones that we have seen in those two fights. There is a lot of controversy surrounding those fights. I went as far this time as to look on Twitter and to see who thought the Thiago Santos fights and the Anthony Smith fights were genuine, and who thought that maybe Jones wasn't, quite there. And there's an easy split. Any of you guys go to social media, there is an easy split between Santos and Smith that Jones maybe wasn't quite Jones in those fights. I know it sounds like a crazy stretch of a question, but I honestly wonder how much longer we're going to see Jones before he hits that inevitable wall of fighting. How much longer is he really in his prime? It would honestly be rather safe to begin the argument of when is Jones falling out of his prime if he hasn't already. This is about the time that we start talking about that. Perhaps seeing him slow down in those fights with Smith and Santos were not, in fact, him playing with his food, like a lot of you guys like to say, but rather a sign that his best days are probably behind him. Again, against Santos, for instance, a noted striker with a porous ground game, the champion didn't even attempt a takedown, you know, and Jon Jones would have attempted a takedown, and he didn't do that. And if he fights the same way against Reyes, he could well be in trouble. Like, there's no doubt about it. If Jon Jones doesn't go for that takedown, he's fucked. You know, I don't understand why people are not talking about the fact that Jones could very well be falling out of his prime. He is getting older. We saw against Santos and Smith and in his last couple of fights that he is slowing down. And everyone's like, oh, he's playing with his food. You know, he's this, he's that, blah, blah, blah. And I'll give it to you. Maybe he is playing with his food, but I don't buy it. I guarantee about 50% of MMA fans don't buy it. I don't think he's playing with his food. I think he is genuinely slowing down, and he may very well be falling out of his prime. You have to remember, Dominick Reyes is a member of the new generation of light heavyweight. Jon Jones is the generation prior. So for us to argue that Jon Jones, oh, you know, he's just going to beat him. He beats everybody, blah, 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 blah. Like, I get it. Listen, I get it. Jon Jones, he's fucking phenomenal. But everybody has kryptonite.
Man, you better back up or you're going to go to sleep. Man, you need to back up or you can go to sleep too.
His bay bonus twists. Flabby Munchkie contrives the cultural crisp. The philosopher noses on top of the fairy. The alternate enemy works Slimy Bunny with the mechanic god. Slimy Bunny gangs the renewing approval beside the champagne. Flabby Munchkie discrim.
I have no idea what you're saying, Barney. Every time you donate, I never know what you're saying. But thank you. I appreciate the $2. All right. Now, I also understand that Jon Jones is the ultimate favorite in this fight, and fair enough. I saw the polls that we made that Jon Jones came in at 71%, and Reyes obviously did not. So I get it. Listen, if you chose Jones, I'm not going to criticize you for it. It is what it is. You chose Jones because there's a very good chance Jones will win. But I think a lot of people are sleeping on Reyes. I think this is a lot like the Adesanya Whitaker situation, and a lot of people are not taking this. People made this joke of like, oh, Dominick Reyes just played baseball, right? But he actually played football, for those of you guys who made that joke. But yeah, nobody is taking into account what Reyes really has under his belt that he's not talking about. Everyone's like, oh, Jon Jones is going to get into Reyes' head, and he does that through the embeddeds, and he does that through, you know, the press conferences and stuff like that. But let's talk about Reyes. Essentially, Reyes does have all the tools to be the man to defeat Jon Jones. He's slightly taller. He isn't at a huge reach disadvantage, and he carries all of the power in his strikes, particularly his kicks, which, to be quite honest, we haven't really seen anyone use against Jones too often. Drunk.
Jon Jones fights with Jesus in his heart, folded hands.
Indeed. But so does Dominick Reyes. If you saw the Brendan Schaub thing, Reyes prays before every meal. However, there are a ton of questions surrounding Dominick Reyes too, which is why I understand if you chose Jon Jones. Reyes, though, has stepped up every single time he has been given a tougher opponent and pulled out the win. And I don't know if you could really say that about the past opponents of Jon Jones. I'm sure you could say, I mean, DC is an excellent argument. But if we're just speaking in terms of Reyes, he pulled the win against all of his tougher opponents. He always pulled through. He easily defeated Cannonier, Weidman, St. Preux. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, those are middleweights. You know, they were middleweights. They moved up to light heavyweight. They were arguably smaller, and Dominick Reyes knocked out a smaller guy. Well, that's not my problem, right? They moved up to light heavyweight. They were theoretically at the same weight as Dominick Reyes when they got knocked out. So does it really matter if they're naturally middleweights? No, it doesn't. Now, Reyes did struggle at times to overcome Ozdemir, which is a little bit concerning to me, particularly in the clinch, which is one of Jones's biggest strengths. Jones is great on the ground. He's great in the clinch. So it's definitely something that's going to have to, that Reyes is going to have to stay extremely careful of. We also don't know a lot about his wrestling and his ground game, and cardio, really, along the stretch, which is worrying given that Jon Jones is arguably one of the greatest wrestlers in the light heavyweight division, and we know he can go the distance. So trust me, I fully understand if you chose Jon Jones. But bottom line for this fight, for me, I'm going with Reyes in this fight. You all know that. Although I know that Jones is the heavy favorite, and rightfully so, I've got a pretty strong feeling that this could be the one where Bones finally loses, and loses well. Therefore, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Reyes take this fight to a decision. Maybe not a knockout, but for Reyes to knock out the longtime champ would be quite the sight. I would definitely pull Reyes here. Reyes has the striking power. Reyes has the knockout background. Reyes is quick on his feet. He is good in the clinch. Maybe not as good as Jon Jones, but he definitely can hold his own. He can stuff those takedowns. When he is on the ground, I can't argue that he's better than Jon Jones, because probably not. But listen, I get it. People think that it's such an idiot move to choose Dominick Reyes, but I'm going to fucking choose him. I think he's going to win. I genuinely think Dominick Reyes is going to be the one. So let me know who you guys have in the chat, Jon Jones or Dominick Reyes. Fight briefing will be no more if you keep this kind of picking, JB. He's trash KOs babies for a living. He isn't better anywhere. The fight is going to go to the ground. Reyes has got no chance, that pickle tickler. Reyes will get smashed. I don't think she even believes what she's saying happened. Jon Jones doesn't lose. JBH, you got sold on Reyes' talk. He's going to get dominated. What are you talking about? Jones lost to Santos. No knees. Jones got this all day. Jones by decision or TKO. Dominick will be victorless. Reyes, just boobies. Conda, Dom, Rey, Miso, Fala. Jones, mi amor. Jon Jones. No way. BBC for the win. Jones, he's a legend killer. Machida showed the blueprint on how to be Jon Jones before he got choked out. He was just too small. Jon Bones Jones for the win by KO by elbows to Reyes' face. Jones is a GOAT. Dominick Prince of Persia Reyes. Jones wins via submission. Jones 4th round sub. Is there an MMA-Holes podcast? This is it. But we are also on Podbean and iTunes, Mikey. Dick Pill says, blah, who the fuck is this girl? Says Notorious Nugs. Jones in the 4th. Reyes can win for wrestle. Reyes is faster than most of Jones' opponents.
Man, you better back up or you're going to go to sleep. Man, you need to back up or you can go to sleep too.
Only reason I want Reyes to win is to see JBH freak out again and tell us to fuck ourselves.
Listen, drunk. I don't know listen, I freaked out when Adesanya won because that's my boy, man. Like, that's my fucking boy. So when he won, that was exciting to me. If Reyes wins, it'll be for sure exciting simply because everyone is shitting on me about the whole Reyes thing, and it's perfectly fair. I get it. You know, Jones should theoretically win this fight. But I listen, I like to live in the moment, you know. I don't know I don't know if I would freak out. I like to wait until that happens and then see where it goes. But regardless, I would probably freak out. I would probably freak out. And Jones does not do good against all fighters. All right, guys. So those are my picks. If you want to go through it one more time, here we go. Let's give it one last look over here. Let me right there. All right. Let's give it one last look. Derrick Lewis versus Ilir Latifi. I chose Derrick Lewis by KO TKO, but I'm pretty sure Ilir Latifi is he's got a lot of advantage, so I wouldn't be surprised if he took the win here. Mirsad Bektic versus Dan Ige. I'm shocked that people aren't really, into this fight, but I chose Bektic. Juan Adams versus Justin Tafa. Of course, I had to go with Adams, the guy with the more UFC experience, the more MMA experience. Simple stuff. Katlyn Chookagian versus Valentina Shevchenko. This is a layup fight. We all know it. This is just a sparring partner for Shevchenko. So I chose Shevchenko for the win. And then we've got Jon Jones versus Dominick Reyes. I chose the upset here. And I know it doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but I chose the upset. So we're gonna see. That's all I can say. We'll wait and see. Saturday night. Don't forget to join our Pick'em League, Goat Milk, on Tapology. You can find it, link in the description to themmaholes.com, and it'll direct you straight to our Pick'em League. Make sure you sign up. You've got 2 days left to lock in your picks. I'm going to lock in mine tonight after the show. Also, thank you to Dottie ANZALONE. Thank you so much for becoming a patron, supporting the show, and carrying on what Mikey was doing here. Shout out to Mikey. I know he's watching from up above. And shout out to all of our patrons for supporting the show. If you would like to become a patron, there's a link in the description below to patreon.com/the MMA-Holes. It's a monthly thing, and you guys support the show and, you know, stuff like that. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me. This was fun. All right, guys. Let me know who you guys have for your picks for the main card in the comment section below after the show is over. And as always, don't be an a-hole. Be an MMA-hole. Wait, guys. Wait, I just saw everyone in the chat. I missed it. Hold on, guys. Hold on. We've got...
I've got 50 likes. You've got 50 likes.
We've got 50 likes.
MMA-Holes 50 likes. I've got 50 likes. You've got 50 likes. We've got 50 likes. MMA-Holes 50 likes. I've got 50 likes. You've got 50 likes. We've got 50 likes. MMA-Holes 50 likes. The dislikes can choke on a dick.
I almost forgot about that one, but I didn't this time. All right, guys. Now, as always, don't be an a-hole. Be an MMA-hole.